We have spent time discussing and establishing the idea of opposite sides and adjacent sides. So we will formally introduce you a ratio called tangent. And today you have an achievement unlocked because when you look at any calculator, scientific calculator, you'll see that there's a tan button, and that tan button is short for tangent. And we did some of these already in the previous video. Tangent is a ratio of the opposite over the adjacent. So in problem 3, we're going to show you some setups, and then in problem 4, we will actually do the algebra. The way this works, as we did in the previous video, was you're going to pick a corner. Now, we're not going to pick the right angle ever, because we recall that that doesn't work. Because there are two adjacents and no opposite streets. You'll note that this corner right here is 68 degrees. This is the acute angle that was given. So this is the corner that we're going to focus on. We begin by writing the following. Tan 68 degrees. We haven't done any math, and for problem 3, we're not doing any math. We're just setting things up. So notice that we're labeling the corner, right? And tangent means you're going to find a special comparison. In the future, you'll see that there's other ratios with different names, and they compare different parts of a triangle. Tangent only compares opposite with the adjacent. So we always begin by writing down the corner that we're dealing with. In this case, it's 68 degrees, and we're going to find the tangent. Then we do a fraction bar. Now, it's going to be opposite. So it's going to be the opposite over the adjacent side from the corner that I'm at. Well, what is this? If I'm standing on this corner right here, what street do I see opposite or across? What street do I see that I'm not on? I'm not standing on the street. What street do I see across the street? I see X. So that's my opposite. What street am I on? What adjacent street am I on? Well, I'm standing on this 21 right here. And that's it. That's it for this problem. It's asking us to set up the tangent. And so we set up the tangent. The tangent of this angle, 68 degrees, is the opposite side over the adjacent side. That's it. We're done with that problem. That's problem 3 for that triangle. Let's look at this triangle now. We're going to do it from this corner right here. So we're going to say tangent of 49 degrees. We're going to set up our fraction. What if I'm standing in this corner right here, what street do I see across from me? What side do I see opposite? What street am I on? What street am I adjacent to? And silly me, I did this on purpose. Do you notice that I forgot to write my equals? Please make sure you write equals. This problem also had an equals. You are writing an equation. Okay? So we have tangent of 49 degrees is 14 over x. That's it for problem 3. Problem 3 was about picking a corner. Step 1, pick a corner. Step 2, what is the opposite? Step 3, what is the adjacent? Don't forget to have a fraction bar and equals. But that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it for problem 3. There will be some problems, of course, on the assignments where I'm going to ask you the setup, because I need to make sure you understand the setup. Problem 4, we're going to do some algebra, and the algebra is pretty minimal. You're going to just do one step, and that's it. And then we're going to have your calculator do all the dirty work for you. Make sure your calculator is in degree mode. We'll show you that in a moment. So for our class and for the future videos, there are going to be only 3 algebra techniques for these type of problems. Multiply, divide, or inverse. And we'll show you each of those in a moment. We're going to start with multiply. And we're going to show you right now one example for each of these techniques, because it's the same thing each time. So if you have a problem and you set it up and it looks like this, you would do what we're about to do. It's the same thing each time. So notice that there's an x up here. Okay, so the x is on top. Well, if the x is on top, what do? Well, let's simplify this. What if I have a problem like this? 5 is equal to x over 2. And I wanted to get the x by itself. Well, I would multiply the top and I would multiply both sides by 2. That way the 2's cancel out. So this is what we're doing here. I'm going to multiply both of them by 21. So I'm going to multiply by 21. Put the 21 in front, not on the back or in between. Okay. These 21's cancel out. So this is what you would do if the x is in the fraction and it's on top. Okay. Always for our problems, we have setups like this. So these cancel out and I get x is equal to 21 times tangent 68. Now I need to put this in a calculator. So if I'm using a calculator like this, for example, I'm going to click on the mode button. And do you notice how if I scroll down to the third option, it has a radian in degrees. So I want this to be in degree. And then go ahead and quit that, and it's set up correctly. If you're using Desmos, it's right here. It's right in degree. That's radian. So I want to make sure it says deg. So whatever calculator you're using, somewhere on the screen it'll say deg. That stands for degree. Make sure you're in degree mode. So if we're going to do this problem, it's 21 times tangent of 68. Close the parentheses. I hit enter, and I get, let's see, 51.9768, blah, blah, blah. We can run this up to 51.98 if you want. Okay, so I'm running up to the hundredths place in this case. The assignments will tell you to what decimal to round up to. So here, if I do with this calculator, I have 21 times tangent and 68. We don't have to type in the degree symbol. Just type in the 68 like that. Enter, and I'm getting the same answer again. Okay? So then we would say that x is 51.98. So the length of this side, so what we just found is the length of this side is going to be 51.98. Okay, and that's if we round to the nearest hundredths place. Now that was algebra technique number 1. And again, we use that when the x is on top. And what do I mean by that? Well, this was the original setup, and you notice that the x was on top. So for this triangle, notice that the x is not on top, it's on the bottom this time. It's on the bottom. So we're going to end up dividing. Now, we can get into technical algebra here. We can talk about proportions. We can talk about cross multiplying. I don't want to complicate things. Can we not complicate things, please? Let's simplify. So here's what you do. If the x is in a fraction and that's on the bottom, here's what you do. You just switch them. If you really need to know, feel free to message me, email me. I'm not going to explain on this video. Just take it for what it is. So if the x is on the bottom, right? Then we're going to go ahead and end up switching these two. So at the end, I'm dividing. We can put that in a calculator. That'll be 14 divided by tangent 49. And I get 12.17. So that's how long this leg of the triangle is. Now, let's take a little breather here and discuss why are we doing this? Why can't we use the Pythagorean theorem? Well, because the Pythagorean theorem requires us to have two sides to find a third side. Do you notice that we don't have this hypotenuse and we don't have this side? We only have one number. So the Pythagorean theorem does not work here because I need to have two sides to get a third side. So what tangent is allowing me to do right now is to find, with only using one side and one angle, I can find another side. And now that we have, for example, two sides, right? This is now 12.17. If you really want to find this missing side, you could use the Pythagorean theorem now because I have two sides. I have A and B. Okay. So again, this whole divide switch technique, that only happens because we had the x on the bottom, right? The original setup for this problem was looking like this. And because the x was on the bottom of the fraction, we just went ahead and switched them around. Okay? If the x is on top, we multiply like within the previous problem. Now you're going to want to add to your notes that these two techniques find you a side. Both of these find you a side. So if you're looking for the side, X, then you're going to do either one of those two based on the setup that you have of your opposite and your adjacent. This last technique is only used if you want to find the angle. So let's look at B. Find the value of all three angles. Well, first of all, we have angle A, angle B, and angle C. And you know that angle C is 90 degrees. So we're 1/3 of the way done. Okay, let's find angle A and let's show you how to do that. So I'm gonna pick a corner, right? We pick a corner. I'm picking this corner. So I'm gonna set up like I did in problem 3, tangent A, and then I do my fraction bar. What street is opposite of this corner? What street am I on? What street is adjacent? Notice that the x, or the missing value, is not in the fraction. So I'm not going to do multiplying, and I'm not going to do dividing, and I'm looking for angle A. Now this is math that's a little bit, it's very doable for you at this point, but me explaining it is going to require some comfort in algebra 2 and inverse functions, and then trigonometry. We'll go ahead and go deeper into this. For now, just accept what we're doing here mechanically. So here's what happens. If I'm looking for the angle, which I am here, you're going to do the following. You're going to write everything again. Put this in parentheses. What's going to change is that this is going to move to this side. And the way it moves, it's like this, with the little -1 power. Now let's show you how to put in a calculator. So this looks like I'm going to push the second button. So that's going to be this one up here. And I'm going to push my tan button. And if you look at the top of that button, it has a little tan with a -1 power. So and every calculator will have that kind of feature. You have a second button or a shift button, then you hit the tangent button, and you see it has a -1 built in. So don't try to, I'll show you what happens if you try to do this a different way. Let's do it this way, right? This is the official way. 4 divided by 7.5, and I forgot my division, so check your typing. Close that, close the parenthesis, and we get an answer of 28 degrees. So angle A is 28 degrees. We're rounding up, right? It's 28.07. Let's just do 28 for now. Okay. Now, some of you, if you're not watching this video, are going to hate yourselves because you're going to end up doing some weird stuff like the following. You're going to end up doing tangent, and then you're going to do like power -1 or some weird thing, and it's not going to work out. If you're in Desmos, we have the same thing, except in this case, I believe you hit function, and then it's already built in right there for you. Tangent -1. We go back to the numbers. 4 divided by 7.5. Oops. Make sure that it's looking like we wrote it. And it comes out to be 28 degrees. Okay. So again, 3 techniques. You just have to know which one to use and when. We always start with setting up tangent. So if you want to summarize this somewhere, this would be very great for you to summarize. But we always pick a corner first. We never pick a corner C, the right angle. We pick a corner. We write down the tangent of that corner. And then we set up a fraction where we compare the opposite over the adjacent. Is it always an opposite over adjacent, Mr. Over? Yes. If it's tangent, which is all we're doing in this video right now, it is opposite over the adjacent. In future videos, we'll introduce you to 2 other types of ratios. For this video and these assignments, right now, it's just tangent. And then, depending on what your setup looks like, you may need to multiply. So here's an example of where you would multiply. We'd multiply 5 to both sides. We divide if the x is on the bottom, as in this case, and dividing is on the bottom, so that means we're going to switch them. resulting in that. And then if I happen to be looking for the angle, our third technique, we would do the inverse. And then follow the instructions as we explained for using the calculator. For your summary, in problem 4, part B, we used angle A. Oh, we did. That reminds me, we didn't finish part B, eh? So, we got A was 28 degrees, we have C is 90 degrees, we're going to find B. So, how do we find B? Well, we do 180 minus 28 minus 90 because of the triangle sum theorem, and we get that B is 62 degrees. So back to the summary. In problem 4, part B, we used angle A. We set up the tangent for that, right? And then we used the inverse tangent, and we got 28 degrees. And then we just finished up the problem by doing the triangle sum theorem. And if you're really confused, well, you got to go back to last semester on triangle sum theorem. Okay. What I'm proposing to you is the following. Why don't you try to set up tangent of B? Set up tangent B. Right? What is the opposite street? What is the adjacent street? And then put in the calculator and see if you get this answer.